it, I can't think of anything. Why? I need to like pre-write. I feel like I had something thought up, but then I didn't remember it. So I need to like pre-write my jokes because I can't. This is the 4th episode in a row. I haven't been able to think of anything. Hello and welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. This is your creatively bankrupt host, Craftsdwarf, here with my co-host, Mathwiz. Say hello, Mathwiz.
I guess I'm also creatively bankrupt because I don't have a joke for this one.
Okay. So I only have a couple comments to respond to. I don't know if there were less or they're just maybe they're just less than I noticed.
Yeah, that last comment section's looking a little small compared to the
which is fine. But why is it that our enjoyment goes up but the comments go down? Furphy had a good one that was interesting about how like after all the big arcs, there's always something like it goes back to the slice of life stuff, kind of reaffirming how that daily life that they need to protect. Like the one example he gave was with the whole arc with Kagura's dad and leaving. There's like a chapter of her like watching and just her reincorporating her into the character dynamic after showing what her place in it was, that like that daily life that they needed to protect, and that was the next comment. And Gabriel Wright Doan was talking about sort of the aspect of like general societal obligation with Japan in general, though.
That's right. Yeah, that was a comment I read and I thought was interesting too. And it's definitely like something I want to keep in mind more for like future stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because the idea of like character being raised as different gender isn't like Gintama's not the first place I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't know what the precedent for that is, if there is a real life precedent or but it is something I've only seen in Japanese things. Like they'll off the top, I know there's other examples, but for some reason the only one I can remember right now, it's not even a Japanese setting, which is funny. It's Dark Souls, but there's still a character called Gwendolyn who was apparently raised as female, even though biologically he's male. But
I was gonna say the only other thing I could think of, like the thing that popped into my head first, like going through that stuff, which is not a character being raised as the opposite gender, but Mulan, because she goes into like the men military thing. I haven't seen Mulan since I was a kid, so I have very small memory, but I remember that it was a thing.
Yeah, so I didn't read those links, but I probably should have. But that was an interesting comment, and he even said that that's something he's like, and that's I feel like it's helpful knowledge to have. But those are the only two I felt like responding to or bringing up. So
yeah, and even as like someone who has looked a little more into the whole I don't know, I there's still a lot more research I could do, obviously, but like from the things I had come across was more of like the terminology and stuff, and less from like a more what is Confucius? What would that be called?
Oh, yeah.
Is that philosophy? What is the term for it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well,
it was a perspective I hadn't thought of as
well, because I was gonna say I've heard of Confucianism as a religion.
Oh,
but in general, any religion is also a philosophy,
mm-hmm.
right? It's just the difference in like where philosophy or schools of philosophical thought are more like Nietzsche isn't a lifestyle, right? But Buddhism is, because religion is sort of meant to be more of a cultural and lifestyle thing, where philosophy is like a school of thought. Though in this case, like a religious philosophy is like the ideals and I read that you use for the lifestyle, I guess is the Confucius. It's I guess there's both is what because you were trying because like we can talk about the ideals of it even if we're not like discussing the religion of it is what I'm trying to say, I guess, but that was off topic. So, this reading, we lost our scans.
Yeah, because Viz at whatever point just stopped. Well, it was after volume 22, or mm-hmm. I checked on Wikipedia and it said 23, but volume 23 is not in this batch. I could not find it anywhere, so
I don't have it either.
Or maybe Wikipedia was just a typo. But regardless, Viz stopped translating it. I don't know what the reasoning was. I don't think it was really mentioned.
Well, I remember there was some discussion, and it's like it's very rare that a series that's longer than like 30 or even 50 volumes gets like translated, and like
unless you're the big three,
right? Unless you're really like you have to be that popular to be fully translated. Kingdom's really successful in Japan. It's pretty well known in this, like anime and manga communities, but like it hasn't been picked up at all to my knowledge. And Kenichi Fairy Tail is another big one that did get picked up, but for Gintama, which like it was successful in Japan, but it wasn't like a mega hit, right? Like the volumes did sell well, and it was obviously allowed to continue up to being longer than Bleach or Naruto, but it's still not at that level of like success. So with Viz, I guess the sales weren't enough to justify it. Maybe nowadays it'd be different because there's so much like of a digital presence that they could have like because nowadays like you have everything in Shonen Jump being digitally like released every single week. So if they keep it up for long enough, and like if Black Clover ends up being 70 volumes, like it'll all be out there digitally, like regardless of its physical success.
Actually, when did the Jump app start? Like, was Gintama still in Jump when that started, or no? Was Gintama over by then?
No, I don't know how much of Gintama they would have done digitally, because they've done some of this like weekly stuff like for certain manga for a while. It's just like they didn't do the whole they like gradually got to doing, like I know for Yuna and the Haunted Hot Spring, there was a point like it wasn't until this year when it ended was every single ongoing Jump manga actually on the app, because a different, I think 7 Seas, or maybe that's a different publisher that wasn't Viz, had the rights to Yuna, so they couldn't just put it on the app. So it's been I guess it's been a gradual process, and so I don't know where. I would assume that Viz would still have the rights for Gintama, but I don't think they were releasing the new chapters as it was coming out. But I did remember that they did do Kimetsu no Yaiba when it was starting, because I read like the first few chapters on the Viz app as they came out, and then I stopped. I don't know if they did the whole thing that way, because I don't know the full history, because I wasn't paying attention to it for the whole time until recently. But yeah, I don't believe Gintama was fully on there. So, but anyway, speaking of Gintama and Shonen Jump, the first chapter gets really meta right away with Gintoki shitting on a manga called Gintaman, and basically just being really self-aware, and like, because judging by the author comments, Sorachi definitely seems insecure, uncertain about his work, so here he's like just being super self-referential and having Gintoki shit on his manga. And also I did a Giga Brain joke like a few months ago when I was talking about haha Kanikuman Gintaman. I knew about this. So but yeah, there were some jokes I liked, like the whole like one I liked was when Gintoki was like talking about the straight man, and he was using a panel of the like younger editor, like he pointed up to the panel above him and used that as a reference, like just I don't know, it was that was kind of funny. And then of course like it ends like, and Gintoki's like, oh, it's not as funny as it used to be when he was shitting on it before, so it's like he'll never be satisfied. So and maybe it was a jab at his audience too. Oh wow, this was really early. So the next one you tweeted about. So now you know my pain from that one Hijikata chapter with the two people in love.
Yeah.
Where it just gets undercut at the end. And this is like, what was your tweet? It was like, here's a chapter about, humanity's effect on the environment and how moving planets won't help. It's actually, no, fuck you. It's just a fucking commercial for bald people. You idiot. You loser. You trash. Like, I really like that tweet. It was funny.
Yeah, because like it. Yeah, this isn't like, this definitely isn't the same reaction I had to like the sandpaper thing, where I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? This is one where I was like, okay, there's something kind of interesting here, but all the jokes about the toupee and whatever, it's like, I don't know, the jokes of him being bald kind of get old fast, and then it like, I mean, of course it was intertwined, so like it has that same connection as the, I guess it kind of does the same thing as the sandpaper one, but this one I was just like, it felt very much to me like the author being like, that's why the way I phrased it in the tweet was like, you loser, you imbecile, you piece of trash. It's like, you thought that this series was deep. You thought that I was, it almost like insults you for reading the thing. Which, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's funny.
Well, there's a quote from Liar Game. What? I'm not thinking about Liar Game. I'm thinking about Love Lab. What? They're completely different. Why did I say Liar Game? Brain, calm down. But there was just a moment where a character gave a fake story, and then they revealed it to be fake, and another character is like, "Give me back my tears," because she was crying over it. And so like that's it, you were invested, and then Sorachi's like, "Haha, no, fuck you," and it's like, "Give me back my emotions, give me back my investment," like, because it was just a fucking commercial.
I mean, like, I don't think that undoes like the message behind like the thing. It's just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's this weird sort of like, it gets at like the severity of the topic it goes to, and then is undercut the word I'm looking for. At the very end, it definitely adds like a more humorous spin on it. Like somehow it ties together like the themes present in like, the environmental stuff and something connection to balding, and I'm like, what? I'm not getting it. I'm not getting this one.
Yeah, I didn't read anything out of that specifically, but I was.
But that's the thing where it's like it insults you for reading it. It's like you're thinking, like, you go to some of these other moments and you're like, oh, it's so deep. Look at the writing and the themes that's happening here in this like weirdly, what's the word? In this just like goofy, lowbrow package. And then like here, it's like he calls attention to that and is just like, fuck you. There's nothing deeper here.
Yeah, it was certainly a couple of chapters. The next one was cute though. It was the umbrella one.
Yeah, that one was
Kagura
nice.
wants the new umbrella, and then she gets one and she's so happy. And then I love that there's like two pages where it's like raining and she's just having fun with the umbrella, and then there's another one where it's storming and it's almost exactly the same set of panels, except everything's like ruined and it's terrible because of the storm, and she just doesn't give a fuck, and she's good. And it ends in a wholesome way where they've got, they like, her umbrella's broken, but they're gonna, like, there's other girls laughing at her, but no, Gintoki and Shinpachi are, oh, can we stand under your umbrella? Ours are broken, and they're just, I don't know, wholesome.
Well, yeah, because there's also the part where she, hands it off to the family who doesn't have the umbrella.
Oh, right, yes.
And it's just like, aw, she's, she learned a valuable lesson or something.
She's a good girl. She's just also sometimes a horrible goblin. Yeah, it was cute. Next one is actually pretty funny. I mean, it's Katsura, so of course, where Yamazaki goes in as a spy. And there's two interpretations of this. There's one is Katsura's just a weirdo, and two, that he knew Yamazaki was a spy from the beginning and just did this whole elaborate thing to fuck with him, and they're both pretty funny.
Yeah, why do they have to be mutually exclusive? Why can't they?
Why not both? And, like, yeah, it's just the absurdity of, like, he's a terrorist, but also, like, interview and, like, fucking test. Like, it's a school, and the dumb question and answers, and, yeah, it was a fun one. Oh, then we get the first arc of this reading, which it's just like like arcs just happen in this series. You do not expect arcs to happen.
Yeah,
you're just like in it before you know it.
Especially like coming off of the last two, which were episodic chapters, and it's like, okay, there's a thing with a turtle. They're doing this thing on the beach. It seems like a pretty generic, shallow, not much to dig into concept here. And then it's just like, nah, but what if we kept going? And it's like, oh.
And then it just keeps going. Like, they're stranded on an island, then they find the Dragon Palace, and then there's the whole, like, Otohime, who, referencing back to the, the legend, and of the what's it called? The Tamatabako, and then there's the whole conflict there, and, okay, I guess this is happening, and we're in it now. Like, you had Gintoki and, Katsura getting old, but like, Oh, well, I was gonna make a joke because there's like, Shinpachi's stranded on an island, and it's like, oh, missing man found alive after 60 years. And I'm like, wow, how bold of Gintama to do its time skip in a like in a gag chapter. Like, that would be fucking wild, as if it just continued the rest of the series and they're like all old people. This was their time skip power up. 60 years. No, but yeah. And I don't know, there was some good gags, like when they were stranded on an island and like Shinpachi's like, oh, I'm alone, I'm free, and he like is streaking naked, and then Madao is just there, and they're both doing the same thing.
Yeah, and then they're both just like sad.
And then they just go around and find everyone else doing embarrassing things, because they all thought they were alone, and they're all stupid.
There's the thing where, the little chapter, or not chapter, wow, getting real deep with these jokes. I like the little gag with Cube, where like they draw the little ice cream cone, and then the wave starts to wash it away, and it's like a double joke, because then it's like, oh, it's just poo, haha, funny joke. But then also, like, when the wave comes back, she's like, no, you can't destroy my drawing, and they're like, you just wanted to show it to someone, and it's like, aw.
It was cute, yeah.
And then, of course, there's Kats. Now I'm getting the names confused again. Katsura, when he like does everything that everybody was doing, and it just like all combines into his own.
Yeah. It was goofy and funny. Actually, that was probably my favorite. Like, the conflict was fine, but also that chapter was probably my favorite part of the arc.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the whole beauty and ugliness thing. I liked how that was handled. And, she wasn't ugly because she got old. She was ugly because she let it consume her and, be focused on that. And and at the end she was able to smile and it was good. And I'm like, yeah.
Maybe that was the theme of this this stretch. Something to do with beauty, because, tying it into the whole thing with the planet and the baldness. Something about appearances and inner beauty. Yeah. That's what this was. So the soul. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just the whole series. Then there was a cute chapter with Tama, who was, what do I do with my free time? And so Gintoki just showed her around, and she smiled, and she feels better when making other people smile, and yep. This might be a short discussion now I think about it. Because I just realized we're kind of blazing through.
Yeah, I definitely, I think for this reading, I feel like most of what I would have, I don't think there was really anything any observations I had that were kind of like deeper than surface level.
Yeah, I felt like it was pretty clear with what it was doing this time, at least. Like the conflict in the last arc was also good, but I might talk about that one because we kind of, I brought it up indirectly last time. Or a bad take about it, rather. But, we'll talk about it, so. But, yeah, and I guess in general, like, I think I did prefer the last reading, because I would still say, like, my favorite arc so far are probably, Benizakura was just, like, I don't know, something about that, I got into it, and then I also like the Cube arc, because that was interesting, and it integrated the humor really well, like,
yeah.
Which I don't, which I do like that about, Gintama has both like the writing stuff that I think is neat and the comedy stuff that I think is neat, and so that arc kind of did both, and that was cool. Where with this reading, I didn't have anything, like, there were funny parts and there was like good writing, but there wasn't. Oh, and I guess one thing I didn't get to say last time was, all right, I feel like I didn't say it, but the Shinsengumi Crisis I got like when at the moment with Kondo and he grabbed Ito, I think, like when he was falling and he reached out and grabbed him. That got like I felt a welling of emotion. It's probably like the strongest emotion I felt reading it so far. So like it's like I guess that's my thing with Gintama is there's a good there. It's just like kind of scattered around, if that makes sense. Maybe because it's so episodic. So like if you look at like individual episodes, there's stuff that makes me laugh. There's that emotional moment. There's good writing stuff, but like. I guess I haven't felt something that, like, intertwines all of those for me, where like in a series, another series, like I've been rereading Naruto, and it's got good writing stuff, and it's got some good emotional stuff, and it's worked, and it's like hits together.
You thought this was a Gintama podcast? It's finally the Nen Show revisits Naruto arc. Let's go.
Yeah, Mathwiz, let's talk about Naruto Part 1, which I just finished today, and therefore you just finished, because that was what the discussion was on the whole time. It was Naruto. Anyway, I did actually think the next arc was neat. It was with the what's his name? There was like the crime boss dad who had his son who was like holed away in his room, and then he had the other like the bodyguard, who'd like, I don't know. It kind of ended up like turning out interestingly because it's just the way like their relationship was, and how like it turned out that the son committed suicide and the bodyguard hid the body and acted as though he'd killed him to kind of like take the dark burden of the family onto himself and like let himself be demonized. But I don't know. It was kind of interesting. I assume you have nothing to say then.
Not really.
The Sushi chapter was fine. I didn't have anything, I'd actually seen one of the jokes in it like ages ago, for somehow like just on people posting jokes from it. I'd seen a few from the anime, but I didn't have much to say about it.
Yeah, it was just kind of another episodic chapter.
Yeah, and after that was one with the Shinsengumi where they end up fixing the bathroom. And I've actually knew about this moment for a while too, with Kondo getting his stuck, and I thought it would go on longer than that actually because I heard so much about it, but that was just it. So it's like,
I mean, maybe the anime does more with it.
Maybe because like if they had to like continue the gag with like them having to get him unstuck with the same like dumb things they were trying to do to like fix the bathroom in the first place, like maybe. But yeah, in the chat, just for anyone who hasn't read the manga and has only seen the anime, yeah, they're like hiding in the bathroom, and Kondo uses the bathroom, and then he just like turns back when they come out, and he's like, he cries a single tear, and he's like, I can't get it out. And then they just leave him there, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Also, you said a single tear. There, he's very clearly crying out of both eyes.
Oh no, you're right. He's got him from both. Okay, I didn't notice the other one.
But,
my bad.
But again, like, it's stuff about cleaning the bathroom, inner beauty. Yeah.
Okay, that's funny. I like this running gag. Keep it up.
What are you talking about? It's a recurring theme, Craftsdwarf.
It's just the Nen Show. We always talk about themes. So, well, I'm curious as to what you thought about the next couple of chapters since. So as we.
I'm looking at the first it's the screwdriver arc. Yep. Okay, so mostly because like I forget if it was last time or the time before that, but Sorachi got into Monster Hunter, and going as far as like references and stuff. So there's a Monkey Hunter arc, which is definitely inspired from Monster Hunter. Like aside from the name, like there's also some of the monsters they talk about which are like kind of corrupt. They're not. I don't know if they're like puns or anything. But they're definitely supposed to be references to monsters in Monster Hunter. Like if I find a name, I can. I didn't write down any of the names that they used, but I definitely was like, oh, that's supposed to be Lao Shenlong or stuff like that, because I recognize the Monster Hunter name it's inspired by. And I guess there's some like like the using the paralysis banana. There's like paralysis meat you can lay down and the monster will eat it and get paralyzed, and traps and stuff. Like some of it is a little like reference, but mostly it's like it also used like general like MMO sort of stuff. Like it's not just like Monster Hunter. Like Monster Hunter doesn't have a lot of these aspects to it, which is fine. It's supposed to like be in service of the jokes and the story rather than just being Monster Hunter. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on it, because you don't know Monster Hunter. So I was sitting here like, oh, that's like Monster Hunter. Oh wait, that's not like Monster Hunter. So because it's only my favorite video game franchise. So I guess I'm gonna like if it was like referencing Hunter x Hunter, you'd probably be like, oh, because Hunter x Hunter really well. Like we both do, but and this character is the stand-in for Chitu. No,
but yeah.
For me it was more just like, this is gaming stuff. Yeah.
I did like how Gintoki was like had a female avatar and was like using that to try and get like free shit, which is like, okay, that's yeah, that happened. That actually does happen. But and funnily enough, I guess you can talk about like your beauty, inner beauty, outer beauty thing, because it's like they're all dissatisfied with some aspect of their lives, which in the case of everyone except for Madao, it's like that they're screwdrivers or parts of them are a screwdriver. Because Madao, he's the only one who's playing the game just because like he's because he's you know he's in a shitty place in his life, and
when
you know,
when
they
do the thing where they make a joke out of it where he's like, oh man, I really got cursed. I was transformed into this dead-end loser who just plays video games all day, and it's like, no, I don't think they did that.
Right, and he's the only one playing it at the end. Like they all, you know, I think you know they stop being screwdrivers, and Mado's he's still playing it, and he's like, yeah, because they just took care of it, the aliens, and just solved their actual problems in the real world. Where Mado, you know, he's just like, I'm coming, and he's just still playing the game. And
well, that's
so,
also
you know,
that's also building on the joke that had happened in the sushi chapter, where the chapter ends with him like going to catch the fish, and he's like,
oh yeah,
he's like, I'll be back.
See, I was rereading it, and I saw that last panel, and I was like, this looks familiar, but I didn't dwell on it anymore. But you're right. No, it is like just like at the end of this chapter where he's like, hold on, you guys, I'm coming. And he's fighting one of the monkeys, and yeah, that's it.
And I you know, another thing that I noticed in this stretch of chapters that I thought was, I don't know if it's just like, I'd imagine it's not just Viz. Like, I'd imagine the original Japanese also has like different wordplay, but like, all the different ways that they can think to make jokes out of dick references and dick jokes, but calling it all these different things and finding different ways to, I don't know, I guess that makes the joke funnier, maybe, I don't know. It's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, inner beauty, yeah, it's themes.
So anyway, next is the arc where the scans go to shit partway through. And we're cursed to suffer. I heard apparently they get better around like the 300 to 400 mark, so it'll be a little while.
Only 100 more, maybe 200 more chapters to go.
So I guess I like these gags because they're so like off the wall when Katsura does his special brand of bullshit. Is like he's counting sheep, and then there's like a whole story about like him at like school and in the like relay or racing with, and like one of the students is sick, and then he's like, jump higher, and it's like 13 sheep, and they're both crying. And it's like, Katsura, what the fuck are you doing? Which has the same edge. It's like an advancement of the mole one. Like last reading, and it's just, I'm wondering how, like, Sorachi, he has to do this at some point, right? Where he just, like, does, like, a full arc that's just, like, a Katsura delusion. Like,
oh, yeah, absolutely. It's gotta happen at some point.
He has to, at least, like, a full chapter where it's just, like, one chapter ends with Katsura, and then the next chapter, it's just, like, it just ends with Katsura again, but after, like, a full, he's, because, like, it's just a natural evolution of the jokes, you know? As for the prison stuff, like, it just, like, you know, he's, like, planning the breakout, but then they were all planning a breakout, and so, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of funny at the end where it's like, finally, this person, he was a tough nut to crack. I've been waiting for him to fall asleep. And then, like, another guy falls down. He's like, yes, finally. He was, and it just keeps going, and then, like, that's just where the chapter ends. It's like, there's holes everywhere in the prison.
Yeah, it ends up being, like, a crab in a bucket kind of thing where, you know, maybe if the guy worked with Katsura and they both tried to get out, it would have been fine. But instead he's like, oh no, this other prisoner who also might want to escape will see me, try to escape, and rat me out. Like, they're not, if they all worked together, they all would have gotten out. But instead they had to crab in a bucket and, like, only try to do it alone. So everyone's, like, forcing themselves to stay awake so that it doesn't work. So yeah, that happened. Then it was a weird one with, like, Gintoki's backstory, or, like, other people he used to hang the previous iteration of Odd Jobs.
It was a chapter.
That was, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Inner beauty.
You can't just say that. No, that was funny. Anyway, then was the Ghost Hot Springs. I like the gag. I'm just scrolling through where Otai and Kagura are bathing, and she like looks and sees like two monkeys, and she's like, "Oh shit, Kondo came too!" And it's like, that's not Kondo, that's just a monkey. Like, what an asshole! It's funny.
This is another one of those chapters that I wasn't expecting to become a full arc, and then it happened, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like, I guess thinking back, like, with Benny Zakura, you know, when fucking Katsura gets cut down at the start of it, you're like, you know, shit's real, right? Or another one is even with Shin Sungumi Crisis. Like, I guess there's almost a different, like, two different kinds of quote-unquote arcs in that sense, where it's like, there's surprise arcs, and then there's, like, arcs where they start and it's like, okay, yeah, you know this was gonna be something, like, you know, and I guess this is one of those, it's just, like, oh, wait, this is an arc now, okay. But I like that kind of almost emergent stuff where, you know, it just happens.
I feel like with this stretch of chapters, it was really hitting me that, like, the wonder, the whole, like, oh, reading a new manga, let's see what this is about. That's really worn off with Gintama by this point.
No, yeah, like, I kind of understand, yeah, I know I understand what you're saying, because, like, if we were really into the humor, or the character, like, not that we aren't, but if we were into them on, like, a higher level, then we're just getting more of what we want, right? You know, but we're not quite at that point, you know? Like, we do enjoy it, but we don't love it. Like, I assume our scores would be in the range of, like, 6 to 7, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, a friend of mine, Vindy, he just finished season 1, which was, like, 200 episodes, and, like, he's feeling really positive on it, and it has been for ages. So, you know, he probably really loved this stuff, you know. But, you know, we're not there yet, so we're just like, yeah, this is fine. And yeah, like, relatively speaking, I guess we're waiting to get to that stuff that does hit us higher or harder, you know. Or even, you know, like, because again, compared to last reading, like, this, it had some good stuff, but I just enjoyed the last reading overall a little more. And maybe it's because of that episodic nature, and, like, you know, like, where's Hidoro? Give me Hidoro. Give me Hidoro. Like, so, you know, based on, like, what kind of characters you connect with, or you come to enjoy, or what style of humor you tend to like, you know, I guess it's if you don't just, like, enjoy Gintama as a whole, it comes across as inconsistent, you know? So, yeah, there'll be chapters or arcs or, you know, volumes where maybe there's just not enough for us to enjoy it the whole way through, like we might, you know, like I'm rereading Naruto. Like, yeah, it's probably a bit more consistent overall because it is Naruto, you know, where Gintama can be a lot of different things. And I mean, that's both a strength and, I guess, but in our case, maybe something of a weakness at times.
Maybe it could also be, like, a difference on a reread once I know where things are going. Because if it's like, oh, I'm not interested in this one-off chapter, I'm ready for the next one. Oh, wait, it's not a one-off chapter, it's actually an arc. Oops. Whereas, like, if I know that going in, it might be like, okay, I will... I have to focus more on, like, what's happening for the setup to really, like, connect the dots.
The true Giga Brain play is to always focus and always read into everything.
Which is why this arc was about inner beauty.
If only I had known, I would open this. This is a podcast about inner beauty, and then it's too late. I can't take it back.
I feel like this particular thing, like with the hot springs stuff, you know, there's all these references like, oh, this person is a stand user. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't seen JoJo or read it, so I don't know anything. If there were any, like, JoJo references here, I certainly didn't get them. So, like, if that was... Because I know, like, Gintama references stuff, and it could, like, add to the ideas, the presentation, you know, the fleshing out of the messages.
Yeah, see, and I've heard that it, like, at least for a Ashita no Joe reference it does in the anime. I don't know if it happens in the manga. Apparently that one really does, like, carry off the themes of Joe, where in this case, like, well, because I was about to say, like, I was like, what was this arc about again? I checked my notes. It's like, oh yeah, because she's you know, she's trapping all the souls there because she doesn't want to be alone, because she can't accept her loss, you know, which again contrasts Gintoki, who's made these new connections. and then like that's how it ends up. But yeah, that doesn't really go like tie to the any of the major themes in JoJo in any way. Where like like if you know what a stand is, like that's as far as like you need to understand the reference to JoJo, where they have these spirits behind them that normal people can't see, but they can fight through. Basically, that's it, and so it's not even really accurate, like, because they're just ghosts, which like a stand is like kind of like a ghost, I guess, but also kind of not. No, you weren't missing anything because you didn't know, like you got like what 6 episodes into the first season, which was part 1,
Yeah.
So you didn't get close to stands, but no, you weren't really missing anything.
6 episodes over the course of like 4 or 5 years. Let's not talk about it.
Oh, I know. I see what you're doing. You're, like with Doremi, you're trying to watch JoJo at like a rate equivalent to the matching the real life time it takes you to watch it to the time that passes in the story, right? This is a generational conflict across centuries.
Yeah. So my
it was all according to plan. And then after that was a gag chapter with the Hijikata smoking, or he has to. There's like a no smoking policy, and so he like goes on this fucking Dragon Ball adventure, and I'm gonna quit smoking. And that was it.
Yeah, that one was actually kind of funny because the translator there was like a translator's note where like they mentioned the name of the planet, and it's like, oh, this is an obvious one, and I'm like, what I don't. What do you mean? And then like I read further into the chapter and I'm like, oh, okay, it's like referencing Namek, and these people are all Namekians and Dragon Ball, and yeah. But it was just like there were definitely some translator's notes that were interesting.
Yeah. And I know we're getting some more later that are interesting. But that's like future readings. Remember because when we did Kinnikuman, I was like, man, it kind of sucks to be reading a manga and getting bad takes about the manga in the translation. Gintama will do that, but for other manga. So
no.
If you wanted to here's a nice Gintama podcast. We don't have to talk about Bleach or Bleach discourse. Oh no. Yes.
No. Gintama is so good because it's a deconstruction of Shounen.
I think there are people who unironically think that or like it because it parodies. I don't know.
Thanks for tuning into the podcast.
Makes fun of the shonen that are bad. Because it makes fun of shonen that are bad.
I just leave the Discord call.
Yeah, it's just.
I haven't read any Gintama. I fooled you all.
So anyway, after that is the message in a bottle chapter, with
which
the
becomes
girl.
An arc.
Yep. Another one of those. I thought the girl in glasses was cute, I guess.
But Craftsdwarf, it's about inner beauty.
I'm leaving this podcast. Goodbye.
After all we've been through, it's Gintama that tears us apart.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about it. It was fine.
I did like the joke where they're like setting up the thing with the letter, and they're like, "Oh, you need to make it so that it looks cool," and then he just like turns it into like the inside of a manga volume where it's just like the box with the picture and then like the author and then like the description under it. I thought that joke was funny.
Yeah, and then the author comments from the Jump magazine itself, which I don't know if you've seen them floating around.
Yeah, occasionally.
But right, because they're published in the Shonen Jump app weekly with every author is commenting that week, and I've seen some on Twitter, so I figured because they did that one too. So I thought I'd mention that in case you had, because I feel like and you had seen it, so we're good.
Yeah. So the more meta humor.
Anyway, so after that was like. This is where it started to lose me a little bit with the episodic stuff, like because I'd laughed or enjoyed myself, but like with this one with the dog, where there's like an old dog with an old master, and they're separated. Like this, well, because it's like it felt like there was like a whole. It starts off with a Sadaharu thing, and then he just stops being a thing, and then it's like a space dog. Like first, it's like okay, now there's like a veterinarian, a dog thing, and it's like no, it's like a talking space dog, and it just like. It was just so much. I just kind of like my brain shut off for the remainder of the arc, and I was just like, okay, this one. I just for some reason this one I couldn't do. So how did you feel about it?
I mean, yeah, I didn't really think much of it either, because like it gets to the emotional moment at the end where it's like, oh no, you die first. No, you die first. Because it's like I don't care about that old man, but no, we do care about each other. But, inner beauty. I don't know. It didn't really do much for me. I'm sorry.
Take a shot every time Mathwiz says inner beauty, and we'll probably both all be dead. That was good.
That's the true way to discover your own inner beauty is just alcohol.
Wow, this is going to be the shortest Nen Show episode in a while. Because we're already on the last arc.
The Nen Show podcast is a deconstruction of podcasts. I feel like this is going to be like our worst discussion yet. I don't feel like either of us just have anything to say.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Maybe it'll at least be our funniest.
Hopefully someone enjoys it, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, next we get to Yoshiwara in Flames, which is the final arc of the reading. And I feel like this one was less of a, like, oh, look, you suddenly get this art, you know, because... You know, by the end of it, like, they're kind of getting into some bigger stuff. Like it doesn't end off in a way that's like a gag chapter would. It's like there's clearly a continuation, and so you know, it's like I was saying earlier, where it's like, you know, Benizakura or Shinzugumi Crisis, where it's like, okay, yeah, this is obviously going to be a longer arc. And I think this was the longest arc we've gotten so far. Like it was like over 15 chapters.
Yeah, I will say though that this is the arc, because I was at the point where it's like, Do I even like Gintama anymore? Like, is there anything? This reading was a real low point, but then like it got to that arc, and I'm like, oh, okay, something's happening. Mm-hmm. The Gintama stans will have my head in the comments. They'll be like, well, no, you missed all the themes. It wasn't about inner beauty. It was about this.
I mean, I'll take whatever anyone says that we didn't pick up on, but I think maybe we just rolled poorly with this reading. You know,
Nat 1. And it was a bad discussion.
Yeah, but yeah, this one was neat. We got Tsukiyo, who we also got more on the Yato clan that Kagura is from. That was surprising.
Yeah,
because that was probably the biggest reaction I got out of this, where it's just like we see Kamui and oh fuck, it's Kagura's brother. And then they also tied, because I don't think. Because, like, the Umibozu said that, like, he gave Kagura an umbrella for her protection, but that it turns out, like, they actually just have a weakness to sunlight. And so, the umbrella that's always been a thing, there's more to it.
Well,
and it's like, cool.
I'm pretty sure that's been set up before, because, like, even back in, like, way early back, when, like, the spaceship guy is introduced, like, they end up on a planet, and, The people are like, oh, Kagura, are you okay? You know, with all this sunlight. And she's like, no, I'm fine. But then she's like seeing hallucinations and...
You're right. It's that... I don't even remember that. That's a while ago.
Well, and also like Umibozu's outfit is very like... conceals desert, like, a lot.
Right.
Because, you know, not exposed to sunlight. That's bad.
Right. And of course, like, it ends up fitting really well because fucking... What's his name? The bad guy for this reading, Hosen, like, you know, he's feeding into sort of he's like accepting his natural like heritage of you're rejecting the sunlight, but as we see with Kagura, who, you know, does exist in the sunlight, like that's his choice, and right, because it makes him stronger, and he was really strong, but you know, he did want that sunlight in the end, symbolically and literally. But, you know, even if his body couldn't take it. Because, yeah, you get it's neat, because it does the whole blood doesn't matter thing, but it also handles, like, that kind of, you know, it's got the, with how the Yato clan feeds into it with, you know, like Kamui, who, you know, we're going to see more of in the future, but he very much, like, accepts, you know, who he, like, what his race is, and like, even though they're like their path, like, I think even says something like, oh, our ways are like, we're killing each other, like, so it's kind of sad when Yado clan members are forced to kill each other. But then before that he called Umibozu weak for like starting a family, which is how like the Yato clan can like continue to exist, is through, you know, procreation.
Yeah.
So there's like a fundamental like disconnect there between how the, like, you know, which I guess goes into the soul idea, where, you know, how their spirit, you know, and or their blood, so to speak, with how they're sort of supposed to live, and then like, then like how they have to live to actually like, continue to exist, basically. Which I expect to get explored more in the future. But yeah, I don't know if you felt this way, because Tsukio's just, she's one of those characters that, you know, being surrounded by Gintama fans, I know that she's like, you know, kind of with Kyubei, I'd sort of seen her, and, you know, so she becomes a recurring character.
Because they've both got eye things going on. Like, the one character has an eye patch, the other one has, like, an eye scar.
Exactly. Right. So I was just wondering if you like felt that way, because going through, like, she's obviously the most important of the, like, you know, notable characters this arc, but I don't know, I'm curious to see like how she like takes part in the goofiness, the antics, and the general like comedy and stuff, because this was a pretty serious arc, so I haven't seen that outside of her a lot yet. So maybe I'll like her more going forward. Not that I dislike her, but, you know.
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess her moment with, you know, you get the whole, like, sun and moon dynamic, which is kind of cool. Especially considering we just went through Star Twinkle Precure, which had very much the same kind of character parallels and, what's the word? You know, like, the dark and the light sort of theme. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was neat. I don't know. She was a character.
Yep, and then there was the freedom. Well, this is where, because there was a tweet circulating a while ago of someone who criticized this arc for saying, like, the sex workers, they were freed from their sex work by continuing to do sex work. But it's like, the problem wasn't the sex work. The problem was that they were basically slaves, and they weren't free to choose what they wanted to do. And, like, also one major difference we do see between, like, the start of the arc and the end is that, like, by the end it's like modernized, you know, like they're like the kid works at the sex toy shop, you know, which is again like a modern Edo thing, which the, you know, where that was stuff like that wasn't there before. So, and yeah, more importantly, like they're free to choose their profession, and you know, they're not working because they're forced to, they're working because they want to. So I guess there was also like the Kagura showing off her, or like, that was a little spooky when she fell to her bloodlust, basically.
Yeah.
And was making that expression, and it's like, because I've seen that before, but now I've seen it in context, and it's like, oh. But, you know, Shinpachi was able to control her, and, you know, again, this is something I expect to be explored more, but it was still nice to see that, the build-up, and, you know, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of have the similar character thing going on, where like both characters like want to be stronger, because like for Shinpachi, he wanted to protect Kagura. Kagura still has the whole thing of like you know, fighting herself and fighting her. So I guess there was like the interest. I mean, it was very kind of blatantly spelled out, the dynamic where like her brother fights because of his blood and just kind of leans into the battle hungriness, whereas she tries to kind of fight against it. Then there's the other guy who is more, I forget, what was the word they used to describe him? I've already forgotten what it was. Where is it? Well, I mean, like, he doesn't, you know, he's different than Kagura, because, like, he doesn't he doesn't attempt to, like, reject his blood, I guess. He seems more like a, you know, he also doesn't get swept up in it. Like, he's kind of more passive, I guess is the word I was thinking of.
You're talking about Hosen, right?
No. Well, he was.
Or do you mean
the other guy, the
okay.
second in command dude?
Yeah, no, the guy who loses an arm.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, because
gotcha.
with Hosen there was, you know, it was also mentioned that like his blood was diluted because he was caught up with all these more material things, like the thing with the women and the booze and stuff.
Right, he's trapped by he's trapping them, but also he's trapped by them because he can't seem to exist without having that control and power over them, right? And but the other guy, you were saying.
I did also think it was cool how they had set up the recurring gag of characters do a super cool thing and then they like deflect all the knives and whatever, but like one of them gets lodged in like their face somewhere. You see, like they're not they're not like perfect, but then it calls back in the final fight where the guy, it seems like he's in control and like he's got Gintoki right where he wants him, and then all of a sudden like blood gushing out of his eye and he's like, what the heck? So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I guess that part was pretty funny with the fake shuriken, where like, because at first I was like, wait, the kid looks like he's dead, should I be laughing? But then like, because none of the characters are taken seriously at all, because like they're just fucking around, because like she even says like, you should know they're fake. So that was silly. But well, another thing I thought was interesting is because there's like the girls were trapped there, and like Sukiyo has her face scars, and like that makes her damaged goods. She can't like serve as like a worker anymore because of that. But like she would also scar the other girls, and like what that sort of forced they became more defenders of that place. But I think
it was all
they, at
about
the end of it, they
inner beauty.
Stop.
Though these characters might be scarred on their outward appearance, inside they are strong because they. I don't know. I don't mean like in this case not as a joke. Like maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Well, where I was gonna go with it, because there's the moment where they we're not belongings. They're not objects, because like being forced to be sex workers, like they were their scars made them like you wouldn't try to sell a broken pot, right? Because they're but at the end, but they took control back. They tried to take their freedom back, and
I did think
not
that
being
that
defined
part
by
of
their
it was
appearance,
neat.
but right, basically not being defined by their appearance, and that they are quote unquote damaged. So I guess we'll see how that, if that goes anywhere in the future, if the inner beauty theme goes anywhere in the future. But it was just something I noticed. Trying to think if I have more to say about the art, because that was a bit of a scattered discussion, I feel, so maybe it was a bit hard. Hopefully it wasn't hard to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had more to say about this reading. I do think it is kind of funny that in the first episode I made the joke that like, oh, what if Gintama actually gets worse from here? But not to say that it has, but like that first reading was, I think, probably the most I've had to say about the series so far. Like I feel like that was when I was most invested. So like but then again, like I had also kind of said that was more when it was like, oh, the series is new, and so like I'm first coming to terms with this style of storytelling and like what Sorachi's doing here. Whereas now like the luster has kind of worn off a little bit, and it's more just
we're very
more
familiar
accustomed
with what
to
it is and what it's right, exactly. So there's less to talk about like the general things, and it's more about the specifics. And in this case, where we don't have as much to say about the specifics, then though I did like how that we got the backstory at the end, where we see Hosen first meeting the lady who's called the Sun, and whose name I can't remember, and she gave him the drawing, and it's like, because she didn't want him to, you can't enjoy this beautiful sky, and so she tried to make up for that, and then like so he's like because he can't do things in like a positive way, he had to possess the sun, or this girl who we saw as the sun, because and because of his flawed actions, and that was good.
Yeah, and I guess that is kind of cool how it ties together the whole the Yato clan. Like they can't be involved with the sun at all because it destroys them, but he wanted, so in the sense like him diluting his blood with all these like material things, very much like him seeking the sunlight, this thing that he can't, like it is so antithetical to his clan and like his blood. But
right, and the fact that he leaned into it so hard, where he like, because he didn't want to, or he didn't change, so he just kind of got trapped by it, so that when he did finally get into the sunlight at the end, it was kind of too late for him, basically.
Yeah.
But But yeah, no, the whole the symbolic motif was handled pretty well throughout the arc, and it was good. But yeah, pretty direct overall. Like, maybe I had a couple things to say that but it was good stuff though. Like, yeah, it was probably my favorite part of this reading. And that cover, this is the shortest one we've done in a while. It feels like it's only an hour. Like, hello. It's the Nen Show. We're supposed to be talking for like 5 hours.
Yeah, like, I think by this, I think like what I was kind of like coming to terms with by this point is, unless the series completely switches gears, which I guess is a possibility, there's still like 500 chapters left. But I feel like I'm kind of at the point where I can kind of see why people wouldn't like this series, like why it would just kind of bounce off them. But I would also kind of understand. I guess I could understand why, some people are like really attached to it, especially like if the comedy works for you or you're able to see further into it. Because So yeah, like I'm kind of somewhere in the middle where I'm like, sometimes Gintama's pretty good, sometimes it's kind of mediocre, sometimes it's both at the same time and it's very confusing. But
no, yeah, I feel like I guess I'm feeling the same way I felt about Soul Eater by the end, where it's like there's really good stuff, but there's also parts that are just kind of there and that I wasn't super into. So I ended up giving Soul Eater a 7. And like that's kind of what I'm feeling for Gintama right now, where it's like there's good stuff that's good, and then there's stuff that's just there, and it's not, I'm not super into it, and it's not insignificant parts of the series either. Not that like. Like with this reading, there was definitely stuff I thought was funny, but yeah, I kind of was with you where like the stuff I enjoyed the most was that last arc, and how much of that is left, like how long is it going to be like this, or are we going to get more like continually good stuff, or is it finally going to click with us and we're just going to enjoy like a whole reading? Because as far as like enjoyment reading goes, like you said, you have more to say about the first reading. I don't know about how much where I had the most to say was, but I'd say the reading I enjoyed the most was probably reading 3, where it just had the most consistent comedy for me and the most, even if it wasn't the most, like, I think the Benizakura conflict was interesting for me, but not that, Shinsengumi Crisis wasn't, but it's also, maybe part of it is, like, maybe Sorachi, I don't know, I have to look at Benizakura again and see, like, maybe was it a bit more subtle, or was it just as on the nose as this stuff? Where, like, maybe because if Sorachi is, like, like that one comment of someone who just said they didn't get it. Maybe he's trying to make it more blatant so that people will get it, and so that and now, as a result, we don't have as much to say, aside from that, it was good. I don't know. That was just an off-the-cuff thought. Don't think too much about it unless it's about inner beauty.
Oh, that reminds me of the one... another weird translation thing where the scans that the person got, I guess, like they weren't translated, and so they had this author or this like editor's translator's note where it's like, this is probably just recap from like a previous chapter. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
Yeah, or I thought it said like, well, because that chapter was translated by a different scan group, and I guess they didn't want to use that translation and just copy paste it, so they just left it untranslated. But they said that they weren't gonna. They left a big note saying that they weren't gonna they didn't translate this part and why. So that was a weird one, right? But anyway, yeah. So that was more Gintama. Next time is going to be another, or it's chapter 229. To 600, or no, 600. Alicia, we're reading 400 chapters at once. 268. See, I saw the 6 there, and my brain was like, yeah, 600. It's like, wait, I don't think we can read 400 chapters by next time. Like, yeah, that's a lot.
If the Nen Show takes an unexpected hiatus, you know what happened.
But yeah, this is going to be a short reading, so I hope it. So it's either going to be really dense, or it's of a stretch of chapters, or it's going to be a really short discussion. Because it's only 229 to 268. That's only like 38 chapters.
Kind of surprised that we had like more. Our discussion about Star Twinkle Precure was longer than this.
Star Twinkle Precure. Like it's not only our longest Nono show, but yeah, it's longer than 2 of our Gintama discussions so far. Actually, maybe 3. I'd have to double check. I forgot how long the first one was.
No, the first one was like 2 hours.
Okay, never mind. But yeah, Gintama, again, we don't dislike it, but, especially, like, in my case, coming from a community where there's so many people who, like it a lot, and, again, I've said this before, more than One Piece, which I feel like is notable it's my community, Craftsdwarf fans, people who like click with my content probably like One Piece because I like it a lot. So there's a lot of people that are also really like Gintama, and I don't know. Hopefully, again, we come to like it more eventually. So I do, as far as I'm aware, like the last couple hundred chapters are like the best stuff in Gintama, but that's still a long ways away. So and it gets good in the last 200 chapters, I swear. You only have to read 500. Do you know how many manga I could read? No, Gintama was good from the beginning. And I do still enjoy it, but it's it's also well, we've talked about it enough. We've belabored this point. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
I don't know. The real Gintama stans are going to be like, no, you didn't talk about it enough. You could have.
What about outer beauty? All right. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.